This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hi, party people, and welcome back to another Saturday Morning Mysteries. We're your hosts, Grace and
Alexis.
And we're here to tell you more true crime cartoons. Cartoon crimes. Yeah, true. Air quotes.
True quotations, yes.
True in our hearts and minds.
Yes. The most important place for something to exist.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still on Darkwing Duck. We've got a couple more Darkwing Duck episodes, and then we're moving on to another cartoon, which we will not tell you about yet, but we have already picked it. So
it's a surprise.
Ooh.
But yeah, this time we, like Grace said, we have actually picked it this time. We do know we're not just gonna choose on the fly, but we are certain that you all will love it just as much as we do, and we are excited to switch it up, but obviously not today. A few more episodes left. Not today, not next week, not the week after.
Week after that.
Yeah, or the week
at some point. I don't know. Just pay attention.
At some point.
If you're subscribed, like you'll get the notification when there's a new one. The new show.
And now that you mention it, I will actually take that opportunity to say, if you are still sticking with us these couple of minutes so far into the episode, please like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, next to the subscribe button, click the notifications bell so that you're notified anytime that we post videos. We do our main episodes here and also have bonus content. We want to make sure you catch it all. And if you're listening on a podcast, like leave a review. On a podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever. So that way it kind of like helps other people find us who aren't just our friends and family who we force to listen to this podcast.
Who have no choice.
Help share it to the masses. Yes.
Did I know on an earlier episode we mentioned like, oh, hi, I bet our only listeners are our moms probably listening together, which like, hi moms, because we definitely both are listening. Yes. But they did finally actually like listen. And I'm pretty sure both of their feedback was just like, you girls. I think that's like what they said to us. Like,
it was something
you two are so funny. And that's it.
It was like, we love our daughters. And that's it.
And then like, in reality, that like was their feedback to us, was just like
pretty much like,
oh you too.
I will say, when I first told my mom that we were doing this, I explained the overall like theme and idea of the podcast, and I'm pretty sure her response was like, that's so avant-garde.
Yeah, that's what she said.
You remember when I told you that?
Oh my God, thanks, Mom.
Thanks. Yes. Cool. I think that's a compliment.
Wow.
As an artiste, I do find that as a compliment, but as just like a normal person, I'm like, damn, that means that what we're doing is confusing and weird.
Backhanded insult from Mama Bird. Damn.
Yeah, I took it as a compliment though, and I think it holds true. We are doing something very different and against the grain, so to speak, with this podcast, which is why you should subscribe. Share it with your family and friends or strangers. And
you will seem like the most cultured because people will know you're listening to an avant-garde podcast. They're going to be like, whoa, that person is fancy AF.
Wow, that is highbrow.
Yes.
Give that person some money.
Of highbrow. Alexis is going to tell us an episode of Darkwing Duck now.
Raise my eyebrows.
But I assume will be highbrow.
Which actually I may be doing, and it will be a little highbrow because I'm going to try something a little bit different here today, partially because I've been very busy over the past couple of weeks, and partially because I also just want to like switch up our storytelling here a little bit. So rather than kind of, straight up retelling an entire episode of Darkwing Duck, I'm going to instead do a bit of a character profile on one of the many villains who has been depicted in the show.
Okay.
And so I'm doing this because, as far as I can tell, the villain only appears in one episode of the entire series. Like, she kind of pops up and then is never seen again. But her one appearance does bring quite an icy situation right to St. Canard's front door, or perhaps St. Canard's basement. We'll see.
Okay.
So yes,
It's like
which
another like
villain?
underground city Seattle situation.
Damn it, well, there's the end of the episode. I'm done. No, it's not. There is a lot of underground components to the episode, but it's
Okay.
not an underground city. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I guess I like these episodes where we go beneath the earth's surface every now and again. So what villain will I be discussing today, you may ask?
What villain will you be discussing today?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. Today,
Uh-huh.
I am going to tell you about the legend of the St. Canard Ice Queen, Isis Vanderchill. Isis Vanderchill. And
Wow,
so,
that is a power name.
isn't it a power name? And yeah, due to the already, I've made a lot of like temperature related puns. So I think, you know, we can guess
theme
already in the first few minutes that this villain is going to have a chilling presence on Darkwing's crime fighting journey and perhaps some temperature related powers that she brings to the table. So real quick though, we'll back up and say that the one episode where we see Isis Vanderchill in Darkwing Duck is in season 1, episode 26 if you're watching Disney Plus, I guess episode 28 if you're going by the broadcast date. And the episode is entitled All's Fahrenheit in Love and War.
Amazing. Really quick,
please,
I have to say, and I didn't realize this until like picking episodes, like the first, you know, there's some like good like episode titles at the start, but like the writers, like once you hit like past episode 15, like the beautiful cultural pun references and like pop culture references of the titles are magnificent, including this one, because that's a great title.
Including this one, I think one of my recent episodes was called Hush Hush Sweet Charlatan, which is a play on the movie Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. Yeah, they've had Beauty and the Beat even at the very beginning. Classic. Like you said, not post episode 15 or whatever, but still just classic. And yeah, so we've all heard the phrase all is fair in love and war. And when I was watching this, I was like, wait, what is that actually from? So I did have to like nerd out and look it up. It's from a 1578 romantic didactic story, apparently. I don't know. By John Euphues. I don't know. A very old.
I didn't understand a word you just said to me.
I didn't understand a word I just wrote. I understood 1578 in romantic. Didactic is some sort of storytelling model. If you're a lit nerd and or like an English major, I don't know, drop in the comments what a didactic is, what kind of story or like prose that is. I'm not sure. Anyway, so yes, that is actually from like a old, very, very old classic piece of literature. Again, I don't know what didactic means. So I don't know
like when did the printing press get invented? Is it a piece of literature?
Yeah, it was published though. It was something that was published according to Wikipedia. But yeah, I just always, for some reason, my mind immediately thought it was like, yeah, like that was probably from some Shakespearean thing, right? Like all is fair in love and war. I don't know. No, it came from this really, whatever. It is from a book though. Yeah, it came from a thing. If you were ever wondering, that's the thing.
So I've learned nothing about where this phrase came from still. I'm still just as in the dark.
You're gonna have to like rewind and like slow it down so much to like hear every syllable of what I said. And even still, I don't even know.
I'm not gonna get it.
But anyway, so let's talk about Isis Vanderchill here. And I'm gonna briefly describe her appearance as you'll see her in the episode. But keeping in mind that I'm going to do like a deeper character profile on her. I've got some creative liberties that I'm throwing in here and some embellishments, aka as we like to call it, wild speculation that I'm throwing into her background story, because again, she only appears in this one episode. So I figure me doing this won't like raise any continuity errors or anything in the overall Darkwing Duck story arc. So if you're watching this episode in modern day, you'll see Isis is a very large, and I'm going to call her Icy, by the way, because
so you have to keep saying Isis and like flagging our podcast and video.
The CIA and FBI is already in our inbox as we discussed. They're already monitoring these videos. I don't need Isis to be said like 5,000 times. So the Ice Queen, aka Icy, she is a very big duck. She's got like blue tinted feathers or skin, I guess, whatever.
Okay.
I think she's wearing like nice jewelry and pearls and has like a
She's
blue.
iced out, if you will.
She's iced out. This woman iced out head to toe. She's got like a blue tutu and like ballet kind of outfit on.
Okay.
Yeah, very classy. So almost like a nutcracker type looking thing, maybe. But
Oh, okay.
she also has like a bowl cut and like bangs in her face. So I don't know, but like a lot of makeup. So she's like mostly glamorous, but also like kind of awkward. They have bowl
Yeah,
cuts.
what is that?
I don't know. But again, I'm doing a backstory of her. So don't imagine her as blue and big and all of this as I tell some of the earlier parts of her tale. It's not until later that she transforms into like a literal iced out ice queen.
Okay,
so,
got it.
How did the Ice Queen come about? And even more importantly to our podcast, how did she
get the
paths?
I mean, cross paths. With Darkwing Duck.
Where the fuck did that bowl cut come from, girl? These are the things our viewers really need to know, or our audience needs to know.
I would like for you to add that weave that in somehow to like this backstory of like what was her at the end of the episode. We'll figure out what the motivation for the bowl cut was.
For the bowl cut is. Yeah. Maybe I'll try to weave that in like off the cuff as I go through this.
Great.
Damn, wish I would have thought about that before when I was writing. So anyway, no. So the real question is, how does she cross paths with our favorite crime fighting waterfowl, aka DW and LP? So Isis was born and raised in the city of St. Canard. And, you know, she had two loving parents, which for the sake of today's episode, we'll just call Mr. and Mrs. Vanderchill. I was creative enough to think of this whole backstory, not creative enough to think of names for her parents.
That's fine. That's fine.
But anyway, so her parents, you know, they were very loving, very supportive of Isis, but unfortunately they had to kind of scrap to make ends meet. It was a paycheck to paycheck kind of situation, because they essentially only owned and operated this nice little ice shop and corner store in St. Canard known as Vanderchill Ice. And Isis always, you know, when she was little, she had a very like a charismatic and showboaty kind of over the top presence. Like she wanted to be involved in drama classes and in ballet and dance and theater and just all of this stuff. She was very into the entertaining sort of line of work. And so her parents, though, they were obviously supportive and they capitalized on this. Like, okay, well, if she wants to do this, she has all of this energy. We may as well enter her into beauty pageants and cotillions and talent shows.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It'll be a dance mom situation.
God, yeah, here we go. And anyway, so they enter her into all sorts of contests where she is essentially judged based on nothing more than her physical appearance and, you know, random talents and charisma that she happens to have. And so Icy, she participated in these contests for like more than a decade, winning a lot of them, or, you know, placing in like the top 3 and actually becoming somewhat of like a famous figure in the area, becoming known truly as the Ice Queen for constantly winning these pageants and being in all these amazing, you know, ballet performances and everything. And so even like as a teenager or a young girl getting this notoriety, folks from all around St. Canard would come into town or come into the store and visit Vanderchill Ice to get her autograph, get pictures and everything. And yeah, like truly though, kind of like dance mom situation where like these little girls become actually famous and known around the country for essentially just putting their faces on TV and winning competitions and whatnot. But it worked well for the family because on one hand, Isis got to, you know, exert her energy and live out her dream on the stage and captivating the hearts and the minds of all of these audience members. And the family business actually was doing well because of it, because people would come into town literally just to like go there to their corner store. Go for it. Yeah.
My immediate thought of just like the fact that people would like come to town to see her, that she was like so well known. I don't know, obviously in this episode if we ever like actually see her performing at all, but my immediate thought was in my last episode about how the cockroach mime was blowing the minds of like St. Canard, that I'm like, how good actually was she?
Like shit,
Like,
if that is what is like
what are
good
the
entertainment to
standards?
them. Oh
Yeah.
God, what was his name? I'm so mad that I can't remember.
Merriweather.
Merriweather, thank you.
Yeah,
I knew
the
it started with an
cockroach
M.
mime.
Merriweather the cockroach. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, like,
was she actually good? So I will
yeah,
say
anyways.
you don't see her full out perform. And also this is all creative liberties here. Nowhere in the episode does it say that
I
like
don't
people
care.
visited her. Yeah, but yeah, aka it's real. This is
In my
canon.
head it is now.
Yeah. So you do every now and again see her do like quick little twirls and dances, and like she actually may have been a good ballerina, I will
Okay.
admit.
Okay.
Now I don't know if she was Merriweather the miming cockroach good, but she definitely had some promise because, as
Okay.
I said, she was really winning these pageants. A lot of them had cash prizes. So on the one hand, people were coming into town to visit the corner store, but also like, yeah, they were bringing in some cash by
Mm,
exploiting their daughter on stage and
classic.
in pageants, and yes,
Hmm.
all of that, letting her be judged based on her physical appearance.
Healthy.
Anyway, but soon, hard times would fall on the town of St. Canard, as they do almost everywhere in America or
Mm.
in whatever country,
St.
sorry,
Canard.
St. Canard is in. And, as we've talked about in our previous episodes, this is obviously a crime-ridden town.
Uh-huh.
And so let's just assume that like some group of criminals working with foul bankrupted the town,
Oh
maybe
no.
washing out all of the money in their banks or something. I don't know.
Something
And
like
it
that.
essentially, right, it essentially led to the St. Canardian economy, being turned on its head,
Oh wow.
which obviously less money to spend, less petty cash in people's pockets. The last place you're probably going to be going is this little corner store, especially
Mm.
driving all the way into town just to visit the Ice Queen of St. Canard.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, the bad economy led to bad business for the Vanderchills. And meanwhile, though, as the economy was taking this tumble, pageants and talent shows were also canceled or
Mm.
postponed. And Icy was like getting older and getting rusty because she wasn't
Ooh.
putting herself on stage because so many, little organizations and theaters had shut down due to the turn in the economy.
Mhm.
And she started to like get older and realize that she really hadn't set herself up for any career prospects outside of this pageant and competition industry.
Mm.
And so she decided to kind of, or she didn't really decide to, she ended up kind of putting the blame on herself for her family's business, thinking, oh, I should have, maybe focused more on the business side. And
Oh.
simultaneously, I also am unable to do these competitions, which were clearly the only reason why people were coming to visit us in the first place.
Yeah.
The extra winning money was, helping us kind of at least keep our shelves stocked and stuff like that. So she really took this out on herself rather than like looking at the bigger picture and seeing that there were like clear economic and societal
Right.
issues taking
Like
place in
a
St.
16-year
Canard.
old or 15-year-old maybe is not
Yeah.
understanding like a recession or like something like that.
Or just like, yeah, how businesses have like up and down
Yeah.
like this is life, girl, get used to it.
Yeah.
But no, the young and vain Ice Queen decided to instead uh, invest the remainder of her pageant fortune on this rare and risky surgery slash experiment that
Oh.
essentially would freeze her appearance, or at least her face, in
Uh-oh.
place. And she did this because she was like, well, the economy, maybe she did slightly understand recession. She knew
Mm.
like the economy may pick back up eventually and pageants will come back and I'll need to be ready to compete.
Mm.
So I better freeze my face now before I get even older, and
Mm.
that way when the time is right I can get back to winning these competitions. But
Uh-oh.
as we all know, not only from Scooby-Doo but also from Darkwing and just from living life generally, rare and risky experiments often go just oh so well for our main
Uh-huh.
and supporting characters. No, no, they
Yeah,
don't.
no
No.
problems ever here. We're good and the episode's over.
Yeah. Oh, cool. An experiment that literally no one has ever had done before, ever. Yes. Sign me up. I know it's going to go exactly the way that I
And
plan on it
this is how
going.
Botox was created, and now she's a billionaire.
Yeah. And also, yeah, the concept for her whole experiment slash surgery is just Botox, but like if it literally froze your face, I guess,
Yeah.
rather than injecting something in you, just like freeze it, it'll stay forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as our little joking here has probably already kind of clued you in on, the procedure backfired. So
What? Didn't go well?
No.
Alexis.
How dare science do this to
Betray me.
Isis? How dare. So yeah, unfortunately, as a result of this botched experiment, rather than Isis's face, or the Ice Queen's face being frozen in place, her blood turned to ice. A pretty unfortunate side effect,
Big
if you
yikes.
ask me. That would not be good. So, as a result of the experiment, she is now unable to keep warm. And I'm
Oh.
saying, like, no matter the climate or conditions in which she rests. So, which by apparently watching this episode had me thinking, like, what are some of the hottest places in the world? Like, could she withstand? Yeah. So I looked it up online. Several sources, including Travel and Leisure, Popular Mechanics, and the manual.com, and also like Wikipedia, kind of,
Classic.
all say that Death Valley, California is the or one of the hottest places in the world, with a recorded temperature in, I think it was like 1913, of 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Ow. But other places, because obviously that was just like one recording, but other places include Kabylie, Tunisia, Flaming Mountains, China, and Dalal, Ethiopia. So
okay,
if you like it hot, put those on your travel
I wonder
list,
what
y'all.
the two of those places, China, and then what was the second place you said?
The second place was Flaming Mountains, China. Literally, that's the name. Flaming Mountains.
Well, I'm thinking of the other two that were probably in like
Kabylie, different... Tunisia.
Yeah, I wonder what that means,
Ethiopia,
in both of those languages, because like Death Valley, Flaming Mountain, they were like, we're letting you fucking know what's up here. I'm like, I've driven through Death Valley. Yeah, it feels like a Death Valley while you're there, for sure.
Even
so I'm wondering,
like with the AC on and windows up,
full blast. Yeah. So I wonder what the other two mean, if they're also just like, you will burn alive here, welcome.
And there were a lot of other places on these lists too. Those were just like 4 that I picked. Mostly I had to put the Flaming Mountains one in there because it's called fucking Flaming Mountains. That's awesome.
Badass.
Yeah. But anyway, so in addition to not being able to like keep warm at all, and no matter what climate or temperature she's in, Icy also now gains this like overall aura of cold, where like anywhere she walks, it just like starts snowing, or like ice just kind of like forms around her, and she can, blow ice or like cold air out of her mouth and shoot icicles from her fingers. So like clearly inspired by Mr. Freeze or Killer Frost from DC Comics, or if you read Marvel Comics, Iceman, aka Bobby Drake, little tie-in there, Drake Mallard. Where she just has like powers of, ice control, kind of temperature manipulation in a sense.
Yeah.
Will she use her powers for good or evil?
It probably wouldn't be an episode if she used them for good.
If she used them for good, yes. So she probably would be DW's sidekick if she was using them for good. No. So she gets this procedure. These side effects come about, and obviously anywhere she goes now, ice follows. She freezes everything over in her path. And she's trying to like kind of live a normal life. Again, her family, they're supporting of her. I don't think they really knew she was going to get this procedure and like use all of the remainder of her winning,
spend all the money
on this totally risky, obviously soon to or like at that time was soon to fail experiment. But they still wanted to support her, and they knew that this could be an opportunity perhaps for her to help continue to rebuild the family's failing business. Because again, this is like an ice store and corner store.
Right.
So they're like, all right, hey, maybe you can like help us make more ice. I guess people still need ice even in a recession. And it actually kind of helped. Like she helped them kind of rehab the whole operation into a larger factory and warehouse. And they started producing more ice to send around the whole area rather than just locally selling stuff to people in St. Canard.
Okay. This is using them for good.
Yeah, it turned around a little bit. Yeah, so for the moment.
At the moment.
At the moment. And not too far later, though, or not too much later, the town was pretty wary of accepting, such a dangerous or potentially dangerous individual into the local business community, because again, she's literally freezing everything in her path. So it's like, hey, Chamber of Commerce meeting, let's go. And everyone's frozen to death and they can't get minutes out. So some side effects that maybe aren't actually good for the locals, even though this booming business is kind of helping to bring things back to normal for the business community. And as a side effect, I mentioned possibly like freezing over people at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. There were also some incidents where maybe she froze other prominent people at just meetings that they were having right at Vanderchill Ice Factory. And accidents would kind of occur because it can be dangerous having frozen things around you, perhaps workplace incidents, slipping on ice while trying to like transport massive containers of ice around, excuse me. And unfortunately, there was a very bad accident where some machinery froze over and malfunctioned and kind of destroyed a portion of the factory where her parents were working. And I'm sorry, but my creative embellishments have led me to decide that Isis's parents were killed due to an accident that she created or that
I shouldn't be laughing at that.
I know, but it's all fake. It's totally made up. I'm sorry to bring it here. I had to get creative, damn it.
I love it, but
do I have you on the edge of your seat? I don't know.
Yikes, trauma.
And so because she just really doesn't have control of these powers, like she can make ice and stuff, but if she gets angry, then maybe she accidentally freezes something a little too much, or maybe she points her fingers and accidentally freezes a machine rather than threatening someone by like freezing a piece of paper on the wall. I don't know, but unfortunately very Elsa. Yeah, maybe Elsa was inspired by Isis.
Same. And the backstory that wasn't in the episode, but they knew you'd come up with eventually.
They knew. They're like, some random person named Alexis is gonna think of this, and now. So yes, unfortunately, due to her inability to control her powers, her parents died shortly after this botched experiment, even though things were going so well for the business. But after her parents' death, she decided she needed to keep their business going, keep their memory strong. She really didn't want to blame herself for the death. I mean, obviously she was the most proximate cause, but she had just so much love and support from her parents that she couldn't really bring herself to believe that it was all her fault. And so she
also wild. She was like, St. Canardian economic collapse, my fault.
My fault.
Nothing to do with it. My parents' death from a frozen machine, not my fault.
Not my
Very
fault.
Selective.
No. Worker who I was actually angry at and who I was trying to prove a point to, your fault. Fire all of these extra workers. I don't need them. And she kind of like pushed herself into a position of self-isolation. And, obviously this with just rumors going around town, which I guess is it a rumor if it's actually true that she killed her parents, just also, she was essentially painted as a social pariah. Yeah.
ICEolation.
Damn. Well, I think we may have a word for the title of this episode.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't let that one go.
No, that was excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Man, awesome.
Missed opportunity.
Anyway, very missed, but hey, that's it. You pick it up. So yeah, she was a social pariah now, and she banished everyone from the factory. She couldn't work with anyone else. She thought that she had to do it all on her own. the business community is like, we cannot risk any more death or any more ruined Chamber of Commerce meetings. Icy, you gotta go.
Oh shit.
So, and yeah, she didn't have her parents around to support and protect her anymore from all of these people who were clearly wary of her. So she left, and she had to go to pretty much the only place where she felt comfortable. As I said before, it had to be like the hottest of the hottest temperature or climate on Earth. She actually had to go beneath the surface of the Earth into a magma cave that I guess was either in like the crust or the mantle. I don't know, but she somehow has access to this like giant cave, which has like these like volcanic pits of magma just shooting up. Well, I will kind of explain in a second.
Okay.
It doesn't quite make sense, but it's like directly underneath Vanderchill Ice Factory, by the way. I will explain. There's actually a very even more convenient path to get there, as I will say shortly. But so yeah, while she's down there, also though, I'll add like later in the episode when DW and LP, I'll bring them in momentarily, but they're down there talking to her at one point, and she's just like casually enjoying snacks of like magma fired rocks. She has like a coal like oven in this massive cave. She like opens it up and like pulls this plate of like rocks on fire out and just like pops them in her mouth, just like snacking on them, because literally that's all that her icy blood can take, I guess.
Oh my God.
It's just very funny, like the life she lives down there, like almost kind of like a life of luxury. Yeah. If you could survive like living surrounded by like magma, like
I'm kind of into
rock.
it. Yeah, I don't dislike her necessarily so far.
So far, you don't dislike her, and I'm trying to paint her as like more of a positive person.
Yeah,
but that changes literally in my. She does. Yes, she has a bowl cut at this point. She does. So and
that's part of the surgery.
I say that because literally the next line is where everything changes for Ice. So I love that you said that you love her right now, because literally the line that I have next, like she becomes vengeful.
because like no, the business community kicked her out, and no one would also like serve her in the business community. So the barber shop wouldn't serve her. So she had to give herself a haircut, which is, if we learned anything during the pandemic, it was don't give yourself bangs by yourself. Bitch
just let them grow out, handle it later.
Yeah.
She gave herself bangs.
Yeah, she gave herself bangs that turned into the bowl cut, and thus the path of vengeance.
And you know, she couldn't get a mirror to hold behind her, so she just had to guesstimate and just take it straight back, and it did not work. And she looked at herself when she finally did get a mirror, and she started to immediately plot her revenge.
That haircut, man.
They banished me.
Change everything
with this horrible haircut.
This is all the barber's fault.
My business nearly saved the town. All of this. I accidentally killed my parents, and this is the thanks I get.
A double murder, and this is what they do to me.
This is what they do, aka what I do to myself because I can't find a mirror. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So
however haircut.
And just like that, we literally see like a 180 in Isis's essential, like in her worldview and her perspective on life. Literally unable to have boiling blood, like her blood cannot boil, so she has all of this pent-up anger over her banishment and her god-awful bowl cut. And you know, she pleads vengeance. She's like, I am going to get back at these motherfuckers for what they've done to me, / what I've done to myself, but I'm too narcissistic to admit.
You know, she was raised in the pageant world, and literally her parents were like taking advantage of the fact that, I mean, her entire life was based on her looks. So maybe that bowl cut really did.
We're gonna come back to this at the end, Grace, because I'm gonna ask for your feedback on all of this, generally speaking.
Great.
We'll come back to that and why I felt the need to include her pageant history in the creative embellishments or the wild speculation of my script writing here.
Great.
So Isis, she was very vengeful, and she wanted to see the regular world again. She wanted to walk the streets of St. Canard and wear those fine clothes that she was so used to wearing, and to dance and sing and perform for people, and to fall in love and meet the man of her dreams to sweep her off of her feet. But none of this was possible because, again, she was a social pariah, and her unfortunate condition, in fact, forced her to remain literally in a magma cave. So she dwelled in the fires of this quaint cave, and she grew even lonelier over the years. And she began to lose even more sight of the needs of others. So we've already said she's a narcissist, and she is so like very, self interested, and a whole upbringing in the pageant world and just performing for others. So she started to think, well, how can I protect myself from the cold surface world? Like, what can I do so that I can be comfortable up there, not paying any attention to what other people need? And she's thinking of things that she likes, like different ways that she can concoct some sort of experiment, or another experiment. She's very trustworthy of science when she really shouldn't be at this point. But she's trying to just think of things that she likes, or things that she's understanding of and good at, that she can kind of mix with the science to help her get back on the surface world. And a magma powered light bulb goes off in her head. She remembers. Sorry, I don't know why. I just kind of, I'm like laughing. I'm thinking ahead at the way I want to say this. So, okay. She remembers like a few days perhaps of her high school chemistry class, and is like, one of these most precious metals in the world that I am just so obsessed with happens to be the ultimate conductor of heat. Gold, baby. Again, Darkwing Duck gets us really talking about science here. Gold is an amazing conductor of energy. And I'm not going to go too deep into it because we have a science teacher as a friend who will totally school me and tell me how I am wrong when she listens.
I got excited because I thought you were going to point out that like she'll teach us the science one day, but no, she's going to tell us we're wrong. Also that, Lenny, I hope you will teach us the science behind why gold is a good conductor of heat. I didn't know as far as I know. So it's not the best. Apparently silver and other stuff is like generally like a faster conductor. Lenny, correct me please on all of these terms, but gold can hold in heat longer. So it's more efficient, like more even though it's not it's not like a faster transition, but it's more stable and it'll hold the heat longer. Things I learned from Darkwing Duck that I absolutely did not learn in high school chemistry class. Again, Lenny, come on and correct us soon, please. Anyway, or correct me, rather. Grace is like, I didn't say anything wrong. I'm not saying shit. I'm just, anyway. So Isis decides or remembers first that gold has this amazing ability. And she decides that, maybe I could just like coat a bunch of objects in gold, and then it would absorb all of the heat for prolonged periods of time, and it would warm the environment around me. In addition to also like lavishly blinging out all of her surroundings, which we talked about before, icing out all of her shit. That's that ice queen. And so enter in my mind like this hilarious / very detailed and also somewhat serious montage of Icy doing like lab experiments, drawing schematics of like machinery and whatnot, like in the depths of this magma. But also she has no background in it, so like they're all bad. Like shit's blowing up, like getting destroyed, and she like has no clue what she's doing. But somehow, who knows how many years she's been in this magma cave working these experiments. Because somehow she is able to actually come up with a patent pending reflecto coat that wait, so I'm sorry, also did she just have like gold all around her and ample? So I kind of dropped the ball not adding that in. I'll try to like cover my tracks for that in just a minute. Sorry. No, that's fine. That's totally fair to call me out on that, because after I wrote it I was like, damn, wait, how did she get the gold down there? I'm like, I'll shoehorn in a reason. Because like gold doesn't come from magma and volcanoes.
No, not at
right?
all. Not at all. Not at
Okay,
all.
cool.
So let me explain to you what her plan is to melt first off to get this gold. So her plan, she's going to, because the gold needs to be melted so that she can spray it out of this machine she has designed
Okay.
to reflecto coat or reflecto seal all of these buildings in St. Canard. And so she realizes, yeah, I've got to melt down the gold. And what I'll do when I have this melted gold is pour it into this like cement mixer type of contraption, aka her thing that she's designing the schematics for.
Apparently.
And then she'll spray. Yeah, she's trying to design schematics for. But she needs a lot of gold to make this work. Because at first she's like, well, I can't just spray like this object here, this object there. Like if I want to walk the streets of St. Canard, I got to spray the whole fucking city in gold.
Little El Dorado situation, city of gold.
Oh my God, how awesome. Well, besides a few facts that everyone would die, but other than that, yes, which I'll also touch on that in a second.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, she's like, I need a lot of gold to get this done. And where is an ice queen supposed to find such a large quantity of gold?
I don't know.
Well, where do we find lots of gold in most cartoons that we grew up and know and love?
In the bank?
In the bank.
Oh, thank God.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. You know, you watch TV, you get it. So not just any bank though, literally every bank. Isis makes a plan to steal the gold from every single bank vault in St. Canard.
Damn.
Evil. She is fully turned evil.
Yeah.
She's going to carry out this massive heist so that she can reflect enough heat off of the buildings and the entire city that it'll keep her and her alone warm any day of the year that she would like, and she can then live on the surface. And I will acknowledge that Isis notes fully, like she is 100% aware that the repercussions of this plan will literally make St. Canard inhabitable for any other living being. Like she knows.
So she'll be alone again.
Exactly. Right. So at first I'm thinking, well, can't she just like spray the magma cave so that it's warmer and she's comfortable down there?
Right.
Like clearly her objective is no longer to put on a show for people and to socialize and like get attention from people. No, like she just wants to not be in a cave anymore. Like she just wants to literally stick it to the people that drove her underground. So again, fully evil now, because literally after like saying like, yeah, I mean, I know that no one will be able to live here anymore, quote unquote, she says, hey, that's the brakes. So yeah, she's like, she knows that this is an elaborate scheme, and she was like, I literally will not push the brakes until every person is dead. Like that's how far I'm gonna take. Like,
big yikes. Okay.
Boom. Now Isis is like Isis and is evil.
Well, and of like what you said of that it's not just like her comfort, but it's also like revenge plan. Combo.
Exactly. It is turned into more revenge than just her being like, oh, I can't stay warm. Now it's like, no, kill everyone and keep me warm meanwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she knows like this is a very elaborate plot. She cannot do this on her own. And as far as she can tell now, she's the only one locked in this magma cave. But, you know, as she's putting these plans together, she starts to notice that there are some underground like bugs in this magma cave who keep kind of like pestering her.
Okay.
The show calls them firebugs. I can do a lot of things, but I just can't bring myself to call them firebugs. Does that exist? I don't know if that exists. I'm gonna fucking call them fireflies. I know it's a cartoon. These fireflies are gonna do ridiculous things anyway, but it's like, okay, calling them firebugs is just one step too far for me.
Right, of all the things, you just wildly speculated an entire backstory, and then you're like, firebugs?
no, we're
How
calling
dare
these
you?
fireflies. So yeah, these fireflies are like all over this magma cave underneath the Earth's surface for some reason. And they happen to be like very militant fireflies. Sorry. Like
Ugh.
they need direction. They need a commander to like point them and tell them what to do. So this actually may work out quite well for Isis. She
Neat.
enlists in their help. She kind of like keys them in on the general like broader scheme that she's got. And she's thinking, I could actually send you guys up. You use the heat that is generated from your butts, your bug butts, which again, fireflies,
Got it.
whatever. Go into these bank vaults, sneak in. They can like drill these little holes in the bank vaults,
Damn.
sneak into there, and the holes are like smaller than what is generally like perceivable by the human eye. So it's very, very quick and easy heist that they can get in and out. They light up their butts, heating up the entire vault, melting all of the gold down.
Okay,
It
I was like,
drains
how do you get
into
gold out?
how do you get through this little hole? It melts and it drains into this hole that they drill, where underneath there's a bucket sitting in like the sewers of St. Canard. And it goes, the melted gold will fall into these buckets. The fireflies collectively pick these buckets up. They fly them through the sewer system, where I need to get used to calling her that.
Yeah.
I've already said it like 1,000 times.
We're already flagged.
We're flagged. So Icy has created like a secret passageway within the sewers that connect her magma cave kind of to the sewers and to the surface world. So these fireflies, they'll like fly these buckets of melted gold through the sewers down to Icy. She can like do her experiments. This is now me trying to cover my ass and shoehorn in a reason how she was able to do that down there. She works on her experiments, figures out the perfect balance of how melted it needs to be or whatever to spray it out of her new contraption. And they've got a perfect, quick and easy smooth heist making machine, honestly. And so they do this over and over, just one by one, taking out every bank in St. Canard. And like I mentioned briefly before,
so this time the next recession was caused by her.
Now it is her fault.
This time it is. Sorry,
but she doesn't care now, because she's gonna kill them all anyway. Now she will blame it on herself, but like happily. She's like, yes, I want to bankrupt this town. Yeah. And so she is storing all of this melted gold, these buckets of gold, in these Vanderchill ice factory freezers, which, like I said, the old ice factory is like right above the magma cave, coincidentally. Now that I think about it, though, I'm not sure why she would put it back in the freezer after. I guess the freezing point is probably very different, so it probably, whatever. Lenny, come on our show someday and explain the science of these things to us. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a science teacher. But this is finally where our favorite hero and his partner, sidekick, whatever, come into our his lover, which actually I straight up I call them partners in this episode, and the next episode I'm doing just like, sidekick, partner, aka husband, whatever.
Yeah.
This is where DW, Darkwing Duck, and Launchpad McQuack come into today's episode. At least today's podcast episode there. If you're watching it on Disney Plus, they have already been all up in the episode. I just deconstructed it and rewrote it to make it seem like they come at the end. Because I can. This is a no rules podcast, my friends. Boom. So Darkwing Duck and LP, I'll just briefly say it's like winter in St. Canard, and they're tired of the cold weather. They're trying to plan a vacation somewhere warm. But right as they are getting ready to head back to Darkwing's, their house, honestly, let's just call it their house, they hear sirens going off in the town. It's police sirens, and they decide to follow them to figure out, like, okay, one last crime that we can solve before
Before vacay.
Exactly, before vacay, before we become snow bunnies and head to like Florida or whatever. And so they follow the police to a bank and they kind of sneak in. It's like snowing outside, like I said. So they're like covered in snow and just like sneak into the bank as like if they were snowmen, totally clandestine. Well done. And they overhear, though, the police talking with the bank security guard who's saying, you know, the vault was totally cleared out. It was emptied. I was standing on guard the whole night, though. I assure you, no one could have gotten in or out. Similar to my first Darkwing Duck episode, there's just like a seemingly unsolvable bank heist at work here. And so Darkwing is obviously like, well, the authorities are having trouble figuring it out.
Here.
Boom, I'm here. I'm going to figure it out. But hilariously, because he's thinking like, oh, this will be easy. We've done bank heists before, as I think you and I have possibly both covered.
Yeah.
No big deal. We'll solve this in no time and we'll be on the next flight out to our vacation. And hilariously, in like the next scene, you see them like sitting in a bank vault and Darkwing's like 23 days later. 23 days and still no leads. Because like I said, this whole like Ice Queen and Firefly situation is actually like kind of a clean heist deal because they're making holes so small that like if you're just walking around in there, you're not going to see it. And because there's no fingerprints, fireflies don't have fingers to leave prints behind.
Right. So they don't have to touch anything.
They don't have to touch a thing. So it is truly like DW thinks he may be in over his head because there are no clues to work with. So he and LP decide to just like honestly stake out inside of a bank vault in St. Canard. And it's funny, LP is like, well, how do you know we're going to find them this time, DW? Like, how are you so sure? I'm ready to get on vacation.
Yeah, we're a month over vacation time.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you said this was going to take 2 days, honey, and we're still here.
I am pissed.
I'm ready to go. I got a mani and pedi for nothing. And so DW is like, well, LP, I am a master detective. I'm a master investigator. Obviously, it's got to be this bank. / this is the only bank left in St. Canard after all of these
anything in it.
So we're just going to stay here until we see something going down. And they do. They chill there for a while. They're like kind of daydreaming about what they're going to do when they get on their vacation. And then they notice that like the temperature starts to kind of increase in the vault. And LP starts like swatting away these fireflies and notices that there's a bug problem in the vault. But DW, I wasn't gonna add this in, but he brought like a beach, like the beach chairs and like umbrella, like visualizing himself. Yeah. So he's got like sunglasses or whatever, like over his eyes, and he's like napping, which dude, you're on
the job.
Make out. Yeah, whatever. He's totally in vacay mode. But so he doesn't see like LP swatting at bugs, and LP's like, DW, you better get a look at this. And DW is just like, not now, LP. I'm trying to like visualize the beach and act like I'm warm and like we're not in freezing cold St. Canard. And as the temperature starts to increase, though, like his chair melts and like his umbrella melts. Yeah. And he's like, okay, now I'm up because something is disrupting. What is it, LP? And he sees these bugs all heating up. They're all kind of grouped together on one side of the vault, heating up their butts straight up to like melt down the gold. And it like instantly becomes like the floor is lava and they're all just like jumping around trying to stand on anything. Like the whole vault is just like essentially catching on fire. All of this gold instantly melts down and it sinks right into this hole that the fireflies drilled to get in. And they kind of follow it. LP and DW like looking down the hole like, okay, well, here we go.
Yep.
And they go down to the sewer system and they see this like trail of melted gold that has been left behind. I guess the fireflies were in a little bit of a rush because they knew that they were going to get chased by them, by LP and DW, and like spilt a little bit over the edges of the bucket, which awkward because now it gave them like the perfect trail to follow.
Classic.
Directly to the Ice Queen.
Uh-oh.
And so this is when they officially meet Isis Vanderchill. And let me tell you, at first, I told you earlier, Isis wanted to fall in love. She wanted a man. She needed a partner.
Oh, God.
She falls in love with DW on sight. I mean, he walks in. She's like taking one of these like lava baths or whatever. And DW and LP are like, excuse me, is someone in here? And she gets out and she like starts to cover herself, but then she looks at DW and like takes the cover off. What? Turns around, like showing her more flattering side. DW. Oh, she like straight up. So yeah, like
thirsty.
She is thirsty. I don't know how long she's been down in that cave, but
damn,
homegirl, she is in need of some physical contact. Let me just say that in the most PG way I can say it. So like throughout this whole interaction with DW and LP in the cave, she's constantly just batting her eyelashes at DW, blowing him kisses that like freeze on his face.
Oh my God.
And as I mentioned, like happily showing off her more flattering sides. And LP is visibly like jealous at some points. Okay. I will just say,
really,
like you can see it in his eyes.
He's like, that is my man.
Yeah. Girl, get your hands off of him. And DW obviously is like not cool with just like being like fondled, essentially assaulted. So he is very apprehensive to Icy's advances. And he asks her like, hey, you know, we followed this trail of fireflies down here who were stealing gold from a bank up on the surface. Do you know anything about them? And Isis is like playing stupid, like, oh no, I have no clue what you're talking about. But maybe like you and I could search around together for them.
Girl.
And DW is like, well, I mean, I do want to solve this quick so we can get on vacation. And LP is like, I don't know, like, I don't trust this girl, Darkwing. He like grabs Darkwing closer, like, I'm not sure that you should be going off alone with
solo.
Her. And Isis is like, she gets a little sad because clearly like DW is not warming up to her the way that she would like for him to. So she like kind of tells them her backstory, like, okay, maybe I should like explain who I am so you guys understand. Like I
down here.
Yeah, right. Who the fuck is this frozen massive duck living in this magma cave who, whatever's like assaulting me. So she tells them about the botched experiment, how she wanted to freeze her face, how she was, you know, known as the Ice Queen of Saint Canard, was this performer and, you know, used to just essentially run the streets of the surface. And after hearing this, DW's like, okay, I mean, maybe she is just like very lonely down here and she seems to be very familiar with the cave. So fine, let's partner up. Let's fucking find these bugs and just get this over with. LP obviously is very skeptical still, and clearly rightfully skeptical, as our backstory has explained. And so they hunt for the fireflies. I was gonna say bugs. But this hunt, DW wishes it was a hunt and an investigation.
Oh no.
Icy clearly thinks that this is just a date. So
she's on the hunt.
She's on the prowl. Let me tell you, she's on the prowl. So they start their prowl investigation at a restaurant, which
like on the surface.
on the surface. They go up to the surface. So naturally, the whole restaurant's like frozen over because Icy is in there. And like the poor guests and waiters are like all like shivering, like climbing this like mountain of snow to get to the table where Icy and DW are. And then after that, they go to search a movie theater, aka they go to the movies. And again, the entire movie theater frozen over. It's so cold that hilariously the writers added this thing in where like the movie that they're watching, the main characters are like frozen in the movie as Isis and DW are watching it. And it's just funny because at this point, DW is like, bitch, I'm gonna freeze to death before we find these
we are not
bugs.
solving anything right now.
Yeah, I did not sign up to date you. I am happily partnered, which by the way, he's still trapped in that magma cave. Can we get out of there? Anyway, so yeah, as this is happening, LP is able to escape from this cave, and he finds himself in the Vanderchill ice factory.
Ooh.
And as he is actually investigating, looking for these bugs, he sees this as the perfect opportunity actually to enjoy a mid-investigation snack. And he like starts opening some of these freezers to see what's inside. And thankfully his hunger, it actually kind of saved the day. One of the freezers contained all of these buckets of melted down gold. So LP is now like, okay, Isis is obviously up to some shit. I cannot wait to tell DW. He's like so excited that he can expose her. I was right. I gotta go save my man. And this horror date that I should actually be on. Dinner and a movie sounds great, but whatever.
Why doesn't he ever take me out? Rude.
God, can we get on vacation so that we can enjoy our date time, please? But before LP can leave the factory and catch up with DW, he runs into the firebugs. They catch him and obviously take him hostage. And it's pretty violent, actually, which, well, I'll explain in a second how they capture her or torture him. So one of the bugs, though, it flies back to Isis to tell her that, we got LP. And now, you know, knowing that LP and DW are inseparable, Isis is like, all right, we'll take DW too then, because obviously like they're on to it. It's only a matter of time. The jig is up. The game is over. Torture them. So by the way, okay, so well, let me say first, she tortures them by trapping them in this like massive block of ice. And so, by the way, a very funny line that the writers added into this episode. DW, as he's trapped in this block of ice, he's like, well, now I bet you're gonna tell us your sinister scheme, aren't you? And the Ice Queen is like, quote unquote, reveal my plan? What do you think this is? A cheap cartoon?
Wow, that is just
so beautiful.
God, I love these writers.
They're amazing, so good. And so instead of explaining her plan, she doesn't. Like, she just leaves them. She leaves them frozen in this warehouse. She's like, I'm out. I got my gold. My patent pending Reflexo coat is good to go. And she leaves them to freeze. And she goes out back on the streets of St. Canard and starts to execute her plan to completion. But of course, the stellar crime-fighting duo of DW and LP, they're able to fight off the fireflies, bugs that were, you know, kind of like keeping their tabs on them, trying to keep them locked up. And, you know, they get chased by them for a little bit, but eventually trap the fireflies into a freezer at the ice factory. So it works. And now they are able to go out into the city and face the Ice Queen herself. Man to duck to duck to duck, or I guess LP is like a seagull or something. What duck to albatross to duck,
bird to bird to bird,
bird to bird to bird, Austin to Aaron to Alexis.
I was just saying,
So, and I'm down to the last few lines here, so I'm about to wrap it up. But I have to say, in this final battle, right before this final battle between LP and DW and the Ice Queen begins, we see What I want to say is probably one of the darkest scenes, or just like quick establishing shots in
Okay.
Darkwing Duck, and perhaps that we'll cover in our Darkwing Duck arc. So
Okay.
Isis is on the streets of St. Canard, very happy to be carrying out this plan. She's just spraying this hose. The buildings are being covered in gold. And obviously it's getting a lot hotter.
Mm-hmm.
People are like taking off their layers of clothes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And after we pan to Isis in the city, like, you know, it starts with an aerial shot so you can see that the whole city's covered in gold. And it
Mm-hmm.
like zooms in closely on her. And she's just very happy spraying this hose. And y'all, we just see bodies laid out on the street underneath her. Every dozens, like maybe 2 dozen, just
Are they
animal
like
bodies
covered in like gold?
No, they're not. So they're not. They're just like they
Laying
died
there?
laying there in regular clothing. She's still spraying gold around, and she's literally just like stepping over bodies as she's smiling, saying like, "Oh, I would. Too bad Darkwing couldn't come around. We would have been so good together." Like sprays gold, and like people are dying from like heat stroke as she's like stepping over them
My
straight
God.
up. No, like it was actually jarring. Perhaps I was also having a glass of wine while watching this episode, but like I don't think it was just the wine. My jaw dropped because I paused it to like really take it in. I'm telling you, like 2 dozen just like Saint Canardian like civilian bodies just scattered, peppered throughout the street as she's spraying shits. Yeah, I can't say for sure that they were dead, to be totally fair.
I'm assuming
maybe are. But yeah, like let's assume, because the temperature was hot enough, like pretty sure these people all just died from heat stroke, and Isis is just like stepping over them as she's like spraying the city. Very, very jarring and disturbing. And dark. Yes. So
yikes.
Not only is she a thief, she is a straight up murderer. Obviously, I mean, yeah, I embellished that she also murdered her parents and perhaps some other Chamber of Commerce members. But no,
confirming.
This is now exactly. This is intentional murder. Like it's not because she doesn't have control of her powers. It's because she wants these people dead because they cannot survive in the same climate that she has to survive in. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so as she's doing this, though, last couple lines here, DW and LP, they escape from the factory. They're ready to face her head to head. They've got a snowblower or like a snow machine with them. And so, you know, she's like shooting them with gold. They're shooting back with snow or whatever. They're able to like clog the hose or whatever that's shooting out the reflecto coat. And obviously, yes, great superheroes, awesome quick battle. And essentially they get her out of there by just freezing her with the snowblower, which not really how a snowblower. I mean, the snowblower picks snow up from one place and shoots it to another. So I don't. Hey,
there's
we
a lot
love
of
these
science
writers.
in this episode.
Lenny, come on our show and explain it to us, please.
Come on, you science teacher.
Yeah, and that's it. So after all of these heists, all of this coating the city in gold, DW and LP, they're able to crack the case. They're able to end Isis Vanderchill. And hilariously, so, you know, like I said, they take her down by covering her in snow. The authorities come and they just like put a carrot on her nose and then carry her off and take her to, I assume, the St. Canard prison for the criminally untalented, which for her would be like a death sentence because literally she lived a life as a performer.
Oh my God.
I imagine her and like Tuscardini. Yes, her and Tuscardini are probably in there literally plotting to take over the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's it, y'all. That is the legend, the story of Isis Vanderchill, aka the Ice Queen of St. Canard.
Great work.
Thank you.
Great backstory. I have a question.
Yes, please.
I know you don't have the
maybe
answer.
I have an answer.
I know the episode doesn't have an answer, but what happened to the plastic surgeon? He was just like, ooh,
I'm gonna just back out slowly.
Run.
Yeah, move to like Tijuana.
Like
somewhere warm. Yeah, or actually, no, he
Question.
probably moved to somewhere very, very cold so that she would never show up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They never say. And also, I don't know, like, was it a plastic surgeon or was it like a scientist? Because the way that she paints it is more as like a science experiment than like a person. Well, I guess she calls it a surgery. I forget, but it's like clearly like a science experiment that she was like, yeah, sign me up, dude. I'll freeze my face. I'm young and vain. I'll stay like this forever.
Yeah, I wonder how old she was too by the time
Yeah.
this episode rolled
Who
around.
knows? You know, maybe she actually did freeze herself like in the year 1913 when
Right.
Death Valley was the hottest place on earth. Yeah, and she's been down there all this time.
Yeah, and
Her
also,
blood
why didn't
is
she just
frozen,
move?
so yeah, you know, there she could have done a lot of things. She could have done a lot of things. We always talk about this with Darkwing Duck. There is a point for all of these villains where
yes, a decision point.
Yes, she was backed into a corner though, and again, like she wasn't big on the business side of running the business. She was an entertainer, so she was not really like thinking all of these like analytical steps through. Like, she was looking at the big picture. How do I get what I want?
Wow.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. And
I love that profile.
About a third of what I just told you is what actually happens in the episode. The other 2/3 is me making shit up to try to make Isis Vanderchill even more of an interesting character.
Yep, I love it. I love wild speculation.
Yeah, so I hope everyone goes and watches this episode. All is Fahrenheit and Love and War, season 1, episode 26 on Disney Plus.
Nice.
Check it out. What year? It was 1991. It's October 25th, 1991.
Great.
So yeah, go check it out. Love Isis Vanderchill. I will also note too, very briefly, and then this is it from me. So she's only in this one episode, but in researching her, I learned that Darkwing Duck is also a comic book series that I will very soon be investing heavily in. And she does appear in one comic.
Oh, in that
also, apparently, very like kind of briefly. So yeah, like they're literally the extent of what they tell us in this episode is all of the history of Isis Vanderchill.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, well, I'm going to take some creative liberties here because there's nothing else on the record about her.
Yeah, you guys can't correct me because we don't have the facts. Also, we knew that it was a comic book series because remember we found Duck Thulu?
Oh, that's right. How could I forget about Duck Thulu?
At like, I don't know, probably like 3 a.m. at Lenny's bachelorette party when everyone else was trying to fucking sleep, probably. And Alexis and I took the kids' room.
We literally, y'all, okay, quick, very quick. So now, yeah, everyone who was at Lenny's bachelorette party knows about Duck Thulu because we were loud as fuck talking about it in the middle of the night while everyone was trying to sleep. Yeah, so I'm just very quickly going to tell this story about us sharing a children's bedroom because I think our audience would love to hear this story about us. We recently, and we mentioned it recently, that we were at a bachelorette party for our dear, wonderful, close, amazing bestie Lenny in Nashville. And we had this amazing Airbnb, all these bedrooms. It was a group of like 11 or 12 women all staying together. And there were multiple rooms. So, you know, a couple of us had to bunk up and share rooms. And this house was awesome. Like there's a room with like a trundle bed in the basement and a room with 2 queen beds and another room with a queen bed and a couple other rooms with queen beds. And then there's one bedroom that has these 2 little twin beds.
So we like couldn't fit our suitcases.
We couldn't even fit our suitcases in. It was like, just like the door, the beds, and the windows. Very small, like honestly, probably like maybe
Alexis's toes hanging off the edge because they were like truly children's beds.
Truly children's twin-sized beds. And Grace arrives to Nashville before me, but I texted her like, hey, get a room for us. Like, make sure you call dibs because obviously we were going to stay in the same room so that we could like shenanigate. I just made that word up on the spot with one another, like joking around, annoying the shit out of everyone else in the Airbnb. And I get there and Lenny is like showing me around the Airbnb. And
I haven't told her what room we have
Grace
yet. I was just like, I got us a room. Don't worry about it.
Grace is like downstairs chatting with people while Lenny's upstairs showing me around. And I'm like, okay, cool. Grace got us a room. Lenny shows me this nice room with the queen size bed, another nice room with 2 queen size beds. And then we're walking through the hallway. She's showing me a bathroom. And I notice this very tiny room with 2 twin size beds. And I look at Lenny and I'm like, that's the room Grace fucking picked out for us. And Lenny just laughs like, yeah, literally the 2 biggest people in this group of women are in the smallest room. In these 2 tiny little, and like Grace said, literally my feet were like, my toes were like hanging off the edge of this bed. And
Alexis came downstairs and was like, is that our room? And I was like, yeah, the kids' room. She's like, God fucking damn it, Grace.
And though, it's the most appropriate thing because this is what we do when we get together. We act like fucking children. We were up until 3 a.m. joking around, talking about our podcast, talking about just life in general,
comic
being
books,
annoying
Duck
little shits, comic books. Grace pulls up a picture of Duck, a character, a villain from one of these Darkwing Duck comics. So this whole story is to say that my bad. I did know that there were Darkwing Duck comics before writing about Isis Vanderchill because we were totally lolling over Ducktulu. And I'm demanding that you add a picture of Ducktulu to the video at this point, / also maybe we'll tweet it / post it on Instagram.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm going to invest in those comics because Ducktulu just sounds like too good of a character to pass up on.
I believe it will be. You make a good call.
Probably.
Great. Well, we'll let you guys know once Alexis gets those. Maybe we'll do a bonus content. She'll review the actual comic books of Darkwing Duck for us. And the Tales of Duck.
I'll add it to my collection.
Exactly. But as a bonus content. And until then, between now and next week, you should tell some people about Grace? The podcast. And I think that, and this is actually obviously all of this Lenny themed stuff of our friend getting married just happened because it's fresh on the mind. We're sitting there at Lenny's wedding. Alexis and I were, at like the bridesmaids table, the wedding party table.
We were both bridesmaids. Yes.
We're sitting at the end.
Lenny.
It was a mistake that Lenny made. Let us sit next to each other. Like at some point during the like beautiful wedding and like the dinner, I just like grab Alexis's arm and I'm like, I have someone who they should tell next week. And she was like, ah.
And I was so mad though, because I knew that Grace said that, but that she wasn't going to tell me right then who you should tell segment would be, because it's got to be a surprise. So I was equally excited and angry, but mostly excited.
Like I probably built it up way too much, but
and we're continuing to build it up now.
It's like it's not like a real life one like the other.
It's like, tell your brother.
Exactly. Tell your friend. The end. No, I think that as inspired by that day, our other bestie that we made that day, I can't remember her name,
Allie.
But Allie, you should tell your wedding coordinator, whether you're getting married or not. Tell the wedding, if you're attending a wedding, find like the day of coordinator, the event planner, the wedding coordinator. Like,
I promise they won't be too busy to talk to you.
You know what? For this, they'll make the time because they fucking hustle. And they need a break. Like, they are running around telling people what to do, getting a bunch of dumbasses like ourselves in line when they need to be. So be like, hey, girl or guy or whatever, you're doing a great job. You need a little bit time. Like, when you're recovering tomorrow from hustling for this event, just turn on Saturday Morning Mysteries. Treat yourself.
Chill. Enjoy it. Treat yourself.
So tell a wedding planner about Saturday Morning Mysteries.
Whether they are planning a wedding when you see them or not.
I don't care. Email them.
Nice. Tell them. Or even if you just have a friend who's a wedding planner and you're listening to this right now, just be like, hey, you're a wedding planner. Listen to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
Yeah. You're stressed. Go enjoy this.
So on that note, I would say if you're going to tell a wedding planner because you're at a wedding, also tell the officiant. But don't don't wait till the reception, because by then like they're tired and like it's been a long day. They're trying to like mingle with people and all that. So instead, wait until the point of the wedding where what's the
speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, there's a point where the officiant usually asks like, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, like does anyone object to this to this marriage?
And at that point, stand up and like make sure your chair like creaks against the floors, like
maybe kick it back.
Kick that shit back. I don't care if it hits grandma behind
you.
Get up and say, I object, sir, unless you all listen to Saturday Morning Mysteries on Apple, on YouTube, on Spotify. And then just slowly sit back down.
Like pick up your seat, apologize to grandma.
Yeah, sorry, grandma. Listen to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
You don't know what a podcast is, grandma?
I'll down and like scratch your seat as you're like sitting back down in it. And then just like cross your legs and then like back to the ceremony.
And then continue.
Boom. Yeah. And then that way you're telling like 100 people or more at once. Yeah. So it's the officiant plus the entire wedding party and or just like the whole audience.
Yeah.
Tell them.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Let us know how it goes. You will not get kicked out of this
family. Let us know how that goes, please. I'm dying to find out.
And remember that we're not liable for anything in your life when you tell people, including losing all of your family and friends, but also not, making those bonds stronger. We won't even take credit for that when they all listen and enjoy this podcast. So you're welcome.
Exactly. That was on you. You're welcome.
Bam.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.